This is chapter 4.2, finding the angle measures of triangles using the triangle sum and the exterior angles theorems. In theorem 4.1, the triangle sum theorem, the sum of the measures of the three interior angles of a triangle is 180 degrees. Meaning, if you look at this picture here, the measure of angle A plus the measure of angle B plus the measure of angle C is going to equal 180 degrees. We're going to focus more on the algebra in the recording. So if you were to take the measure of this particular angle C, it would be y plus 8 plus f plus y plus 10 plus d plus 4y. It would equal 180 degrees. You have a lot of y's and constants on the left side. You're going to combine all your like terms. You have a 1y, a 1y, and a 4y, which is 6y. You have an 8 and a 10, which is 18. And that equals 180 degrees. That's our first simplification step. There is no distributive property. Now we're going to move on to properties of equality. We're going to use the subtraction property of equality, subtracting 18 from both sides, which is going to leave us with an equivalent equation of 6y equals 162 degrees. We're going to divide, division property of equality, divide both sides by 6. And y is going to equal, and you do not need a calculator for this, 6 goes into 16 two times. 6 times 2 is 12. The difference between 12 and 16 is 4. So I'm going to put the little teeny 4 right there. So that's 42. 6 goes into 42 7 times. So y equals 27 or 27 degrees. So I'm going to ask you to find the following. Now that you know the measure, the y value, you can find all the other values. So the measure of angle C would be 27 plus 8, which is going to be 35 degrees. And then the measure of angle D is 4y. So you don't need a calculator for this. 4 times 20 is going to be 80. 4 times 7 is 28. 80 plus 28 is 108 degrees. And the measure of angle F is going to be y, which is 27 plus 10, so it's 37 degrees. If you were to add all of these up, 35, 108, and 37, they would come up to equaling 180 degrees. So their sum would be, sum equals 180 degrees. All right, now we're going to go on to the other theorem, theorem 4.2, which is going to be the exterior angle theorem. Okay, we're going to focus on this next part on, again, theorem 4.2, which is the exterior angle theorem. And our goal is to be finding angle measures using that particular theorem. The exterior angle of a triangle is equal to the sum of the measures of the two non-adjacent exterior angles. Had to do a little fix there. One more time. The theorem 4.2 exterior angle theorem. The exterior angle of a triangle is equal to the sum of the measures of the two non-adjacent interior angles. So if you look at this picture here, and I'll go around it, this is the exterior angle 1. And the interior angles that are not adjacent, C is the adjacent interior angle. The ones that are not adjacent are B and A. Therefore, the measure of angle A, right here, plus the measure of angle B, right here, is going to give you this exterior angle, the measure of angle 1. So we're going to use that in more of an algebraic context. So if you take a look at this picture, this is triangle JKL. You have the exterior angle, which equals 122. So it's going to equal 122 degrees. And you know that these two angles, angle L and angle K, are going to equal, the sum of those is going to equal 122. So 2x minus 3 plus 2x plus 1 is going to equal our 122. And then we're going to put together our like terms. So 2x and 2x is 4x. Negative 3 and 1 is going to be minus 2 or plus a negative 2 equals 122. We add 2 to both sides. And we're going to end up with 4x equaling 124. Now we're going to use the division property of equality to make an equivalent equation. Divide both sides by 4. 4x divided by 4 is x. there's no need for a calculator on this. 4 goes into 12 3 times, no remainder. 4 goes into 4 1 time. So x equals 31 or 31 degrees. And then the measure of angle L, you actually can plug it in mentally unless you need to write the work down. I'll just write what we did mentally. So for L, it's going to be 2 times x minus 3. Well, x is 31, so it's going to be 2 times 31 minus 3. 2 times 31 is 62, and 62 minus 3 is 59 degrees. And then we go over here to 2x plus 1. So we've got 2 times 31, which is 62. This time we're going to have plus 1. So it's going to be 62 plus 1, which is going to be 63. If you were to add 59 together with 63, it would come out to 122. So these two amounts added together equal, let's put an equal sign in there, equal 122 degrees. All right, with that said, we're going to go on to another problem that involves both properties, both the exterior angle theorem as well as the triangle sum theorem. So we're going to move on to that third slide, and we'll go over that. Okay, we continue with the objective, finding angle measures using the triangle sum and exterior angle theorems. Now, you can see that x and 4x are the interior non-adjacent angles to 145, the exterior angle 145 for triangle ABC. So if I take the measure, let's do a different color. If I take the measure of angle A plus the measure of angle B, it's going to equal 145 degrees. That is your exterior angle for triangle ABC. Measure of angle A we know is 4x. Measure of angle B we know is x, which equals 145 degrees. We're going to combine like terms. It's going to be 5x equaling 145 degrees. Then we're going to use the division property of equality to make an equivalent algebra equation. So we're going to divide both sides by 5. And x, and you don't need a calculator for this, 5 goes into 14 2 times. 5 times 2 is 10. Difference between 14 and 10 is 4. We're going to put that little tiny 4. Let's give it a different color though. That little tiny 4 right there. And then you have 45, and then 5 goes into 45 9 times. So x equals either 29 or 29 degrees. Now you're going to take a look, you're going to use some other theorems. There's this vertical angle theorem, because this right here has now been determined, x has now been determined to be 29. So we are going to find out what this angle is right here, because in order to be able to find out the measure of angle M and the measure of angle MCN, I'm going to have to find that measure right there. And before I can do that, I also have to find the measure of angle A and the measure of angle B, because we're going to use the triangle sum theorem. So the measure of angle A is going to be 4x. So 4 times 29. You do not need a calculator again. Now this one you can do a little bit differently. 4 times 30 is 120. If you were to go back 4 from 120, you would be at 116. Another way to degrees. Another way to do that is 4 times 20 is 80. 4 times 9 is 36. 80 and 36 is 116. There's two ways you can go about doing it without a calculator. Then you have the measure of angle B, quite a bit simpler because it's just x, so that's going to be 29 degrees. So we have 116, let's get a different color now, plus 29. So I like to add from left to right. So we have 110 plus 20 is 130. And then 9 and 6 is 15. So 130 and 15 is 145 degrees. So we want to get to 180 degrees. So you can go two ways. You can go 180 degrees minus 145. That's one way to get there. Or you can just count forward. 145 to 150 is 5. 150 to 180 is 30. So 30 plus 5 is 35 degrees. By doing it mentally, you don't have to subtract borrow to subtract with zeros. So the measure of that angle, let's go back to red, right there is going to be 35 degrees. Because x is the measure of angle x, or the measure of angle B, excuse me, is 29 degrees. The measure of angle A is 116 degrees. To get to 180, you have to have a 35-degree angle. Well, now that gives us the measure for this angle right here using the vertical angle theorem. So this is also 35 degrees. Well, now to find, that gives you MCN, so we're going to go ahead and write 35 degrees there. And then to find angle M right here, you're going to have to use the triangle sum theorem. So you have 90 plus 35 plus whatever this is. So we're going to come over here, do one more little, we'll continue to use this color. So we'll go to measure of angle M plus the measure of angle N plus the measure of angle MCN equals 180 degrees. Well, we don't know the measure of angle M. Let's make that a little different. Degrees. Let's make that a little bit bigger. M. Looks like measure. Okay. M. There we go. We don't know the measure of angle M, but we do know the measure of angle N. That's 90. So that's going to be 90 degrees. And we do know the measure of angle MCN now from the vertical angles theorem, which is 35, which equals 180 degrees. So you still need the measure of angle M. So we're going to combine like terms. 90 and 35 is going to be 125 degrees. And that equals 180, measure of angle M. We're going to subtract 125 using the subtraction property of equality to create an equivalent equation. It's a lot easier to count forward. From 125 to 130 is 5. From 130 to 180 is 50. So 50 plus 5 is 55. So the measure of angle M equals 55 degrees. So we'll go ahead and put that in. Measure of angle M is 55 degrees. A lot of patience on this. You had to find a lot of, before you could answer these questions, let's go ahead and circle that. Before you could answer these questions, you had to do some other work. You had to find out what x was. You had to find out all the measurements of triangle ABC. Then you had to use a theorem from earlier, the vertical angles theorem. And then finally you had to apply the triangle sum theorem to triangle MCN. So it was a rather involved process. Just takes a little patience. If you have any questions or you're struggling a little bit with this, go back and watch just the section that you're having trouble with. If you get it, then not a problem. Go ahead and do your algebra, triangle sum, and exterior angles theorems worksheet.